Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Today we're going to do a little recap of the game that happened this past week, which it's kind of it's sad and exciting at the same time because it's the last football game we're going to have until August, and that's preseason. But at the same time, it starts the off season, which is a lot of fun. But before I dig into it, I have to kind of tell a story that happened to me a couple days ago. I went to the library to schedule a birthday party, but they were completely booked. So while I was there, I asked the lady if they had any books on paranoia, and she leaned in and whispered, "They're right behind you."
Oh my goodness. I have to say, Andrew, the one thing I could say is I don't know if the jokes will be better or if they'll be worse each week.
It's something that you just have to keep coming back for. You never know.
That was pretty cringy. I'm sure that our listeners will enjoy that one. So well done,
Yeah,
Andrew.
I always enjoy the look on your face when I first start. You're like, "Oh no, here it comes."
Well, should we get to football news,
Yeah.
Andrew?
Yeah, let's get to a little recap of the Super Bowl. So my first thing I wanted to touch on is a lot of people I talked to were saying, "Man, that game was boring. It sucked. I didn't like it." I thought I loved it because that first half, even though it was like 9-0 at the end of the first half, I think it was a lot of fun. It was a defensive slugfest, and the point I was making was it wasn't like the offenses just weren't making plays. It was the defenses who were the ones making the plays. They were knocking passes away. They were hitting the quarterback. They were stuffing the run. They were forcing, like, for example, the Seahawks, the Patriots were forcing them to kick field goals. I enjoy aggressive defense. It wasn't like a bend but don't break kind of defense. No, the defenses were coming after you. And I really enjoyed that. Um, Patriots defense didn't really get too many sacks on Sam Darnold, but that's not discredit them. Sam Darnold was just doing a really good job avoiding the sack. I was impressed with that, and I'll get into that later. But Drake May was sacked 6 times, and he just got pressure in his face all game long. And it usually wasn't just with four. Both teams were sending the heat, and I don't know. I just really love aggressive defense. Um, Maybe it's because I'm spoiled by Flores because that's just what he does. But it was just I found it a lot of fun. And in the second half, points started to come. The Seahawks got the first offensive touchdown, and they got that defensive score. And then Patriots got that score toward the end. But overall, I really enjoyed the game because, like I said, just defenses making plays. But unfortunately for the Patriots, they couldn't make the key play like the Seahawks did. I don't know how many times there was a time, especially in the first half, when Sam throws a pass and there's a Patriots defender has a chance to make a play on it. They just can't get the ball. They just can't get the ball in their hands. There was that one in the end zone where Gonzalez is covering JSN and Sam Darnold throws it over the middle, right at JSN, but Gonzalez cuts it off, gets both hands on the ball, extended, but both hands on the ball, but doesn't catch it. I was like, man, that was your prime opportunity to make a big play in the Super Bowl, get an interception in the Super Bowl, but couldn't get his hands on it. And then there was that one deep ball that Sam threw that Gonzo made a great play on, full extension, tipped the ball away, incomplete pass. Just defenses were making plays all game long, but the Patriots just couldn't get that key turnover. They kept just having the Seahawks that marched on the field a little bit. Run game was going against them, hold them in the red zone, but they needed to make that key like turnover or key sack to end the drive, and they just couldn't do it. The Seahawks offense just did enough to tire them out, score some points here or there, get a bigger lead. And the second half, it was just too little, too late for him. Drake May, he struggled for the first half. Second half, he put up some numbers. I mean, he had 295 passing yards. two touchdowns. He had those two interceptions, and he got sacked 6 times. He had a 16.3 QBR. I don't think that was fully his fault. He was a little off on some throws. You can tell he had some jitters in that first half. He also made some pretty decent throws, but man, he could not have time to pass the ball. He had pressure in his face all game long. His receivers just weren't getting a huge separation, but this is against a really good defense. It just wasn't working for him. And another key piece is he was their leading rusher with 37 rushing yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 7 carries for 23 yards. Now you could argue, should he have more carries than that? It's possible. It's very possible. But man, game scripts sometimes when you're down by over 2 scores at halftime, I understand that you do have to lean more pass, but
I mean,
still, he does
I
need
would
more
push
than
back on that
seven.
idea though, because the fact you're only down by 9 points. I don't know. To me, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. If you're down by 14 points, maybe a little bit, but 9 points, like I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I hear you. And then Henderson had 6 carries as well. So they had 13 total carries by the running backs. That number should be a little bit higher. It should be. But at the same time, when you're averaging 3 yards a carry on every single carry, it's just not super working. And you're shut out in the first half. And I don't think they crossed midfield to like the fourth quarter. They just did not get anything going. And another thing with the reason why they only had 13 carries total was because their drives were so short. They were three and out after three and out after three and out, punt, punt, punt. How many punts did their punter have? Let me see. He had 8 punts in this game. Their punter had 8 kicks. Seahawks had 7 kicks. Six punters punted the ball 7 times. That's just how this game went. It was a defensive struggle. And then on the Seahawks side, Sam Darnold didn't really play very well until about the fourth quarter. He had some really good throws that in the fourth quarter, but I think at one point he was 7 for 21 passing with no touchdowns, no interceptions. I'll give Sam credit on this. The entire playoffs, he did not. Well, the whole Seahawks team did not turn the ball over once. Were there some turnover worthy plays? Yeah, Patriots should have taken advantage of some of those throws that were close, especially like I said, that Gonzalez one where he had 2 hands on the ball. But I will give credit to Sam Darnold on the piece where he avoided pressure. He was showing some elite pocket presence there because the Patriots were in his face numerous times. I don't know how many times Milton Williams got past the center or got past the guard, went straight up the middle, was running, was chasing Sam Darnold down, and Sam Darnold just avoids him a little bit, steps up, goes forward, throws a pass, little check down, but a 5 yard check down is much better than a 6 yard sack. He did that over and over. I was impressed by that. I was like, wow, well done, Sam, because last year when he had pressure in his face, he was done. He got sacked almost immediately. But this year he's learned a little bit. He stepped up to the pocket, got rid of the ball, avoided the sack. He even had a scramble here or there. He had 2 rushes for 5 yards. I think one of those got a first down. I was like, wow, that's he played pretty well. I'll give him credit, but he wasn't the reason why they won, and that was evident by who the MVP was, and that was Kenneth Walker. And I know that everyone's saying that it should have been Jason Myers, the kicker, but I hear you,
It should
but
have
I
been
don't
Jason
really.
Myers, the kicker.
I
I will
hear
stand
you,
by that.
but his long was a 41. It wasn't like he was
Dude,
kicking these clutch kicks. He was kicking
that
just normal kicks all game long. Go ahead.
maybe they're normal kicks, but a kick in the Super Bowl is far different than a kick in any other game.
Yeah, absolutely. And he didn't miss a single kick, extra point and field goal for sure. And it
I
was a little
mean,
windy.
to go 5 for 5, I mean, that's a
Hmm.
big deal. I mean, if two of those end in a block kick or a missed kick, you could be talking about a different game because the momentum
Yeah,
shift could be that huge. I don't know.
100%.
It's weird to me to say that 17 points is worth less than 135 yards rushing. I don't know. To me, that
Yeah,
feels backwards.
yeah. I hear you. I hear you. But I, I was I was kind of 50-50 on it, but I think I did lean a little bit toward Kenneth Walker, maybe like 60-40, because
Mm.
some of those runs just felt more impactful than getting in the red zone and another field goal. I think every time Jason Myers got on the field, the Patriots won. They're like, okay, we won because the Seahawks had a drive going. They could have got a touchdown, but we held them to three. So, but I do hear what you're saying, but I felt like the runs and the couple catches that Kenneth Walker had just felt more impactful against the Patriots because he would run for a gashing first down again. You're like, oh, can't get off the field. Run for a 15-yard gash here. And a lot of times, like the announcers were saying, he was pulling like a Le'Veon Bell where he was just standing there, then he just bounced outside. And the Patriots had the best rush defense of the whole league, and they allowed 135 rushing yards against him. And that's because he kept bouncing it outside. The in the middle was stuffed, but he made the play. It wasn't like it was greatly blocked. It was Kenneth Walker creating the yards instead of like yards before contact. I don't know what his yards before contact was, but it probably wasn't very high because in the middle was stuffed every time. He had to keep bouncing it outside or kind of avoiding the tackle here. He did most of the work. It wasn't the O line because that Patriots D line is really good. So I do hear the Jason Myers argument because he himself outscored the Patriots technically with the amount of kicks he made, but
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker's just felt more impactful to me. I don't know. But the winner of this game was the Seahawks defense. There wasn't one individual player. That's the reason why the Seahawks defense didn't get an MVP on it. But the defense as a whole, sacking Drake May 6 times, having 3 turnovers or 2 turnovers, whatever it was, something strange was happening because I very clearly remember there was a sack on Drake May where he fumbled the ball and it was a scoop and score, but ESPN counts it as a pick six. I'm not sure what I'm missing, but they're counting it as a pick six instead of a scoop and score. I feel like I vividly remember it was a hit on Drake May where he lost the ball and then the Seahawks picked it up off the ground. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I it looked like to me it went straight into his hands.
did it? Okay,
That's
maybe.
what it looked like.
Maybe it was a fumble, but it didn't hit the ground,
Yeah, so
and so
therefore it's an
okay,
interception and it's a forward
okay.
pass.
But I think that's still three. Yeah, he still had 3 turnovers. Drake May did. So Seahawks defense was just all over him. Um, that pass to Matt Collins in the corner of the end zone was really good. Give Drake May credit on that. But I
I
heard
think
this
the play of the
stat.
game. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think the play of the game was the Ramondre Stevenson touchdown.
Yeah,
I mean, to grasp that with like the bare tips of his
yeah,
fingers and
yeah.
pull it in to get the touchdown. To me, that was the most
Mhm.
amazing play of the game.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. I think Drake May's best throw was that one to Matt Collins when he had like 2 guys over
Yeah,
him. But yeah, that was a really good play. There was a stat that I read that kind of I don't know how I feel about it because it does go toward your point of some of the stuff that the Patriots went through. And I'm sorry, Dallin. I don't lean on the side of that the Patriots had the just this cakewalk of a schedule, cakewalk of a pathway to the Super Bowl.
but they did.
I I do lean more that you play who you play and winning
You do.
14 games is still impressive no matter
Still
who you play.
impressive.
But this was from Whistle Sports and there's these 3 tweets that they just shared and I was like, come on, let's not pound on the Patriots like this. But the first one was someone reminded that this was the Patriots schedule and week 1 through 3 it says fired coach. Week 4 NFC South. Week 5 fired coach. Week 6 NFC South. Week 7 through 9 fired coach. Week 10 NFC South. Week 11 the Jets. Week 12 the Bengals. Week 13 through 16
Without Joe
fired
Burrow.
coach.
Without Joe
Yeah.
Burrow. I think that's a
Yeah.
really important clarification.
Yeah. Week 13 through 16 fired coach. Week 17 Jets. Week 18 fired coach. That was their schedule. And this isn't fully accurate because Mike Tomlin wasn't fired, he stepped away. And even though the Bills fired their coach, they were still a really good team. So there's some context that's needed, but the overall sense, I was like, come on, why are we doing this? Um, and
I
then there
mean,
was 2 more. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to weed out though because it This is where I think it's important to read out. When it comes to power rankings next year, I don't think you could put the Patriots in the top five.
It
Truly.
depends on the offseason because they have a lot of, well, actually, no, they don't have cap space, but they can make cap space. I was
Yeah.
looking at their cap space. I think that's like either they're in the negative or they're barely over the required threshold. But
Hmm.
there's the thing of the cap is a myth, and you can always make money somehow. And so they'll have money to spend. So it just depends on their offseason, who they draft. But as of right now, their team that they have, unless Drake May takes another big step, which he could, yeah, they're kind of like fighting for a wild card kind of team.
Well, and it's nothing against them. They took
Yeah.
advantage of their window. I
Hmm.
stand by what I said before the Super Bowl. If they want to win a Super Bowl with things the way they are currently right now, it's this year,
Yeah.
and then we'll see if they get back in a few years from now. I just, it's tough, man. It's tough to go back to the Super Bowl after playing a long season. They played in every
Hmm.
single playoff game you could, and they're going to now get short rest coming back. Whereas teams like Minnesota, Philadelphia, they had close to a month extra time to recoup and
Hmm.
recover. It makes a big difference. And I'm not trying to sound like sour grapes about the Patriots. They did exactly what they had to do
Right.
in order to get there. I just think it's important to acknowledge the easiness of the path because when you're going to start projecting for the future, I think it would be malpractice to say that you would expect the Patriots to be back in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah. And they definitely need their left side of their O line to improve. Now, left side of their O line are both rookies, so they have a great chance of improving. Which I was telling a couple guys that I was at a Super Bowl party with that though both teams have a lot of rookies playing in this game.
Yeah, they do.
Patriots had three or four, maybe
Yeah,
even five, and I think the Seahawks had a handful as well. But yeah, that Patriots left side of the O line with Will Campbell, and I think it's Jared Wilson. I can't remember his name. Their left guard, who was drafted as a center, but he's their left guard. They both struggled. They both struggled in the Super Bowl. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They struggled, and it showed. I mean, the very first sack on Drake May was a bad play by their left guard Wilson. Again, I think his name is Jared Wilson, but I'm
it's
not.
Wilson.
Okay, okay. Because I watched it, I was like, what? Why did you do that? So Will Campbell had the defensive end. He had the edge rusher, and he was in a fine position. He wasn't beat yet, but Jared Wilson ends up not having anybody to block, so he goes and double teams the edge rusher. But when he does, he hits him and pushes him off of Will Campbell, and then he is free to go after Drake May. I watched that play a couple times. I was like, why did you do that? Why did you hit? He hit him so he can get his hands on somebody. That's what you're supposed to do as an O lineman, obviously. But the way he did helped the momentum of the edge rusher get off of Campbell and go sack Drake May. It was just a bad situation. But those two rookies, they had a difficult time. I think that it showed that I think Will Campbell had like 10 or more pressures allowed, and it was just bad. But the other two things from this Whistle Sports little thing they shared, I was like, oh, they are just beating down the Patriots right now, and I feel bad for them. But this person shared in the playoffs, the Patriots had 53 drives. They averaged 1.13 points per drive in those games. Now, one of those was the really crazy weather game for the against the Broncos,
It's the
and they
Broncos.
played three really good defenses. Chargers have a good defense, Texans have a good defense, and then the Broncos have a really good defense, and then the Seahawks have four really good defenses. But this is the stat they shared. I was like, oh, come on. This person says in the 2017 Browns, who went 0-16, averaged 1.22 points per drive, and the Patriots averaged 1.13 during the playoffs. I was like, come on, that there's context that needs to be shared here. But the last one might have been the worst one. But again, context, played really good defenses, and weather game against the Broncos had a big factor too. But this person shared the worst playoff runs for QBs who started at least three games in a single postseason since 2000, and it's the total EPA per play. So
Hmm.
that analytic, Drake May is the worst at negative 29.2, just above the Peyton Manning year when he was throwing ducks for passes at negative 22.7. And then Rex Grossman back in 2006 was at negative 22.5. So they're saying that Drake May was worse than Rex Grossman. And that's just gross.
I don't know, man. I look at that stuff and I'm not surprised. I do think we interpret the Super Bowl differently. I would say the Super Bowl was not entertaining for myself.
Okay.
Um, but I do hear where you're coming from. I just think here's the thing. If you go to a movie, right, and people have been telling you, listen, this is the best movie. Like you will love this. It's going to be amazing.
Hmm.
And you go and see it and it's not matching your expectations. You will most likely think that movie is even worse because the fact it didn't meet your expectations.
That's fair, but I would argue that this game went exactly like if you're
Well,
looking at it.
I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about Patriots. Like the Patriots definitely like crashed hard in this game compared to what they should have performed at. And that's nothing against them. Bad moments happen, bad games happen, but
Mm-hmm.
like when it comes to an MVP race standpoint, like definitely Matt Stafford in my mind is the right call because in the game sample size of Seahawks for Patriots and Rams, Matt Stafford couldn't have looked almost any better. He played
Hmm.
amazing. And he played them twice in like really like close competitive game environments and did just about everything you could do as a quarterback to win the game. And again, we've talked about all the factors and it's fair to acknowledge them. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm hating on Drake May, but he really struggled, like really
Yep.
struggled against this team. Yes, the offensive line didn't help. I would say this game was the turn of Josh McDaniels let the offense down. The offensive line
Mm-hmm.
let McDaniels down. May let McDaniels and the offensive line down. And they all kept taking turns on when they would let each other down. It was all selective. Like, there's different parts of the game where May was doing his job. He's getting the ball to receivers, or, they're dropping the ball, or offensive linemen's not doing their job and gets to May just in time to make the throw off. But to me, everyone was letting each other down. And
Hmm.
I feel bad for them because I think the narrative around the Patriots is going to be, well, I guess that they just weren't as good as we thought they were, and they just took advantage of
Yeah.
a soft schedule. And I think that cheapens what they accomplished as a team
Hmm.
because it was the first year of Vrabel, it's the second year of May, so I feel bad on those fronts. But I do think there's something to say for the fact they were not ready to play the Seahawks, and I think that's absolutely fair observation. They were not ready, and
They were
I think
outmatched. Yeah.
part of that has to be the schedule. Though. Like if you have to fight hard to win, it just changes how well you play in the game at the very end of the season. And I hear what you're saying on the defense front, but when you have the offense of the other team literally gifting turnovers to you, it's kind of hard for me to think, well, I feel bad they had to play such a tough defense. Like, no matter how tough those defenses were, the offenses were so horrific that it mitigates how much I can feel bad for them and who they played in defense. Like, this really was one of the softest stretches for a team to play in the postseason. Like, probably the only other time I'd compare it really this close is maybe the Eagles 2022 run where they played the Giants and the 49ers and the 49ers lost Brock Purdy. Like that 2 game stretch was
Hmm.
super soft. And I'll be the first to admit it. It was a soft stretch.
Hmm.
But I don't understand like it's just weird to me like why did Jalen Hurts have an amazing game against the Chiefs but Drake May struggled so much? Like, is it the offensive line? Was it the scheming? Was Drake May not ready? Is it a little bit of everything?
I think so.
Um,
He's young. It's his second year in the league. And Sam Darnold struggled too. I kind of figured both quarterbacks were going to have the jitters a little bit, and both defenses
but
are really good. So I think it's a mix of all that.
but the interesting part is Jalen Hurts was also in the second year,
Yeah.
basically, like as a full time starter. That was his
Hmm.
second year. So like, I guess maybe there's a small chance that he would have a better scheme understanding, but like we're talking about like not a ton. Like it's fairly similar in terms of how much playing time the two of them had by the time they actually got to the Super Bowl.
And the defense they're playing is a little different. The Chiefs defense was solid, but it wasn't like the Seahawks. And
That's fair.
Jalen Hurts had a good supporting cast with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas
That's
Goddard.
fair too. Yeah.
But I do hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. Drake May did not look good these playoffs, and during the regular season, he had the same team around him, and he looked really good. So he just struggled, and
Yeah.
he'll probably improve, but this wasn't his best showing in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think the other part too, the reason why I just felt like the Super Bowl wasn't as, I don't know. I think the Seahawks fans are going to trick themselves into thinking that Sam Darnold's the long term answer because they won the Super Bowl, and I think that
Yeah.
is, I think that would be a mistake. Truly, like I mean
Hmm.
that in all respect. Like I hear what you're saying about those passes, but I mean at the end of the day, when we're looking at this game, and you're looking at the total box score, Darnold went 19 for 38. By
Hmm.
all accounts, that is a truly bad day. That is. It's just not
Hmm.
good. And I get he maneuvered the pocket. I get that he got a touchdown and he deserves credits on those fronts. I just, I'm curious. I'm just curious what happens now. Where does Sam Darnold end up in NFL rankings? Like, for example, does he now become a better passer than Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield? Like, are they going to put him higher than those quarterbacks? Because I would still say no. No, he absolutely
Right.
does not deserve to be above those
Hmm.
quarterbacks. He just hasn't proved nearly enough to be in that group. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm curious about the narratives. That's what I think I'm most curious about following the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. What narratives come out of
Hmm.
this game? Because I could see a narrative forming potentially that Sam Darnold he's rounded the corner. He's going to have a great turnaround. He's going to start becoming the quarterback that the Jets thought he could have been, but he didn't have the right team around him. He
Hmm.
just lost his offensive coordinator. It's going to be a huge loss for that team, and I really
Yeah.
question whether or not they're going to look the same next year on that front. And then I'm really curious on the Drake May front. I I don't know where to put him in terms of quarterbacks because of how bad the postseason went, and it's like
Hmm.
where's going to be the real thing. So I guess that's the interesting part coming out from the Super Bowl. But props to the Seahawks, man. Props to the Patriots for getting there. Huge run to
Hmm.
be able to get to the NFL Super Bowl. Just shows you how great of a coach Mike Vrabel is. And then
Yeah.
really do it like big props to the Seahawks. Like, and also can't believe that Cooper Cup had the most receiving yards for the Seahawks. That feels like a
Well, we
statistical
both were
error.
talking about it. We both were talking about it that we figured JSN wasn't going to have a big game,
Yeah,
and he didn't. He got 10 targets, but only 4 catches because Gonzo was all over him.
one
Christian Gonzalez had a
clarification:
great game.
he did have a major injury that he was dealing with that they did talk about.
I think, yeah, I saw that. Wasn't that like sometime in the second half, though?
It was like the third quarter, so still a significant part of the game, right? If because I think it was like early third quarter that they mentioned it, and if that's the case, that's close to two
Well,
quarters you miss out on.
but at that point, he only had 2 catches.
Right. I'm just saying though, the hard part is like we've talked about Jason in the past, right? Like even in the fancy football chat, oh, it looks like Jason's going to get shut down, and you've
That's
made the
fair.
comment, hey,
That's
there's
fair.
still two quarters left. So
Yeah.
it would have been interesting what would have happened, but that's nothing against Gonzo. He had a
Yeah.
great game.
But Christian Gonzalez, I mean, if he would have intercepted that pass in the end zone and somehow the Patriots would have won, he probably would be the MVP because he was playing really well. I mean, he
Sure
had
was.
that MVP moment when he stretched out and got his hand on that deep ball to, I think it was Shaheed. And because if he doesn't do that, that ball lands right in the breadbasket of Shaheed and he scores a touchdown. But
Yeah.
he stretched all the way out. I was super impressed by that play and by his play all game long because it's not easy to defend JSN. He is one
No.
of the most elite receivers in this league, and until he got hurt, he only had like 2 catches for like 18 yards or something like that.
Right.
He got shut
Right.
down. So well done, well done by Gonzalez. And back to that Sam Darnold thing, I'm completely with you. The narrative is already out there that he is an elite quarterback now. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, which that part is a fact. He is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But like I've said in these shows, he's just the cog in that machine to where they have a good team all around him. Special teams, even though the special teams as far as returns didn't play well this game, you get 5 field goals from your kicker. Really helps you out. And when your run game has over
But that was a
130
consistent theme
rush
the whole
yards,
year. Like this isn't just
Exactly.
a one game
Exactly.
exception. That is
Yeah.
the whole
100%.
year.
100%. And when your defense is like top three in every analytic you can measure, like you said, all year long, you don't have to do much as a quarterback. Just don't turn the ball over. And unfortunately, Sam Darnold led the league in turnovers, but in the playoffs, he didn't have one. So
Yep.
that is where I give him credit on. So he didn't have any turnovers at all. There were some turnover worthy plays that the other team just didn't take advantage of. But as far as just taking care of the ball, he did it. And that's all he needed to do to win
Mhm.
is not turn the ball over, get a couple third downs when you need it, let your defense and run game win the game. And that's what happened.
I've got a hot take for our next podcast, Andrew. Since we're talking about postseason stuff in that spot, or
Okay.
or not preseason, off season stuff in the next podcast.
Hmm.
So it'll tie back to Sam Darnold.
Yes. Are you going to share it now or next
No,
episode?
no, no, no.
Okay.
Next
Ah,
episode.
you're
Yeah.
teasing me. Come on.
I want people to come back and listen, Andrew.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. And I probably have some takes as well that you might consider a little hot. Depends on if we get into all that stuff. But I think that's my overall thoughts about the Super Bowl. Like I said, I really
It's
enjoyed
good.
it because I just love seeing defenses hunt, not offensive struggle. Because if this was just defenses sat back and four-man rush and it was just really vanilla, and offenses were just missing receivers or
Mhm.
receivers were dropping passes or that stuff, that would have been a boring Super Bowl. But the defenses were aggressive and made the plays. I was loving the hard hitting, just sweat, blood, everything. It was fun to me, and then points end up scoring toward the end anyway. But I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the slobber knocker, hard hitting defensive football, probably because I've been seeing it from Flores for 3, 4 years now, and I just love it. I love it. If you're aggressive, you can get beat on the back end. Offense just got to figure it out, and a lot of times they don't. And I just love every minute of it.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed the Super Bowl, Andrew. I personally, I think the reason why it was hard for me is because I just can't help but feel like it was an opportunity missed for the Eagles. This was
Hmm.
a prime opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl, and we just biffed it completely, 100% biffed it. And
Off of
uh,
Christian McCaffrey's arm.
oh my gosh. Well, it's not Christian McCaffrey that threw that ball. He caught the ball.
I think he also had a pass, didn't he? I think they had
I thought
two
he
of those crazy passes. He did
maybe they
catch that
did.
ball, the flea flicker or something, or the wide
Yeah.
receiver pass, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I think he also threw a pass. But maybe I'm wrong. But yeah,
Yeah.
he just.
But yeah, I mean that's the past though. We did not shine. We had made a
Hmm.
horrible choice at offensive coordinator. We talked about that. The
Yep.
other part I did want to just mention as one final note. I think that um, someone mentioned this on the Eagles website that I follow, and it was a good point. But I still cannot believe, man, that Nick Foles played as amazing as he did in that Super Bowl against Tom Brady. Because watching Drake
Hmm.
May out there and as great of potential as Drake May has, the lights were just a little too bright for him. And I just cannot believe
Yeah.
that some backup from Arizona University or University of Arizona went out there and literally had a arguably better game than Tom Brady. Like it's wild, man. It's
Hmm.
wild how in the NFL, this is the part I love. The one game sample size is fascinating because it can literally spin any direction. And it just comes down to who has the better game that day. And I love that
Yeah.
about the NFL playoffs.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for the Patriots, they need to get a bona fide number one receiver, I think, because the receivers just weren't getting open, and Drake May needs that just safety blanket kind of thing. Um, and they probably need a little bit better O-line help. And then the Seahawks, they just need to bring everybody back that they can, which I don't think they can. I know this is crazy. I think they have like the fourth highest cap space of any team going in the offseason, which doesn't seem fair, but that's what they have. So they probably could bring a lot of guys back, but Ken Walker is a free agent. I think there's a couple other guys on defense, like Greek Woolen's a free agent. So we'll see what they do. Um, and I still don't know if they're gonna extend Sam Darnold because they signed him to a 3-year deal. First year was fully guaranteed. Second year was partly guaranteed, so they can get out of it after like a year and a half or 2 years. We'll see what they think because like you said, their OC he did a really good job this year, Kubiak did. And I mentioned this a few times that there were plenty of times when Sam Darnold in the red zone was struggling, and it looked like he could have one of those games where he does stuff that makes your team lose. But the coordinator took the ball out of his hands, gave it to his running backs, gave it to Walker, gave it to Charbonnet, let them carry the game, and they ended up winning. I think against the 49ers week 18, that was happening.
Yeah.
And they won the game 13-3 or something because they focus on the defense and run game. Will the next OC do that? We'll see. Is he going to take the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands, give it to Ken Walker? We'll see what happens, but that doesn't happen. Sam Darnold's capable of giving the ball away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they won the Super Bowl.
They did. They
It's
did.
hard. It's hard to win in this league, and they did it. And
Hmm.
hats off to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just am tired of hearing, especially like the Stephen A. Smith saying that Minnesota made the egregious mistake of letting Sam Darnold go. I mean, do you want us to
Well,
win 10 games and lose in the wild card again?
yeah, don't even get me started, Andrew, because I read that article and I know that I probably got more fired up about that ESPN article than I should have, but the title of it just felt so misleading.
Yes.
It felt super disingenuous. And
Hmm.
again, I'm not saying I'm not trying to hate on Sam Darnold. I just
Right. The narrative.
at no point do I feel like he carried this team. At no, well, no, I take that back. At one game, I will say he carried the team, and that was against the
The
Rams.
Rams. Yeah, in
He
the regular season
actually,
when they were down by two
and actually,
scores.
so two times. So two times I could think in particular where he really had to put on the
Hmm.
Jets to like make sure that they could win the game. But
Hmm.
I just think it's crazy, man. I think the Vikings made the right call. I definitely agree with you on that part. And I just it's interesting, man. The narratives that come out of through these things are just sometimes so over the top, and
Hmm.
it's just weird. Like I've been reading so much talking about quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. Like, are they good anymore? Do they have a future left? And I'm so confused, man. Like, did people watch the games last year? Go look at the stats? Like, I just these quarterbacks have a future. Like, let's not act like they're bad
Hmm.
quarterbacks. But it's just silly to me because these quarterbacks did not play the way they were supposed to in certain moments. Well, that just means they're bad quarterbacks. They have no futures for
Yep.
them. But
Yep.
because Sam Darnold was able to have so much help from his team, he's now some elite
Hmm.
quarterback. It's like this double standard system just
Uh-huh.
annoys the heck out of me. It just annoys me so much, man.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. And I don't want to circle back to JJ McCarthy, but everyone's focusing on his negative, all the bad stuff he did, and think he's a bust. When I have some stats I can share in the next episode that might blow people's minds a little bit. I heard it recently on a different podcast I listened to. I was like, wow, I didn't fully realize that, but it is true. So might try that in the next episode. See, look at that. I'm following after you, Lance. I'm having people come back.
following my lead, baby. I
Two
love it.
crazy stats about JJ McCarthy that not anyone is talking about. So we'll get to
Love it.
that.
Okay. Well, that's it for me, Andrew.
Yeah, that's all I got too. Excited about the offseason. It's now here. We got combine coming up soon and the draft and well, free agency first, then the draft. Then we got OTAs, lots of really fun stuff coming. 2026 NFL season is basically here. I can already taste it.
Well, we'll see you next time, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next time.